The Dearborn Independent, August 21st, 1926, Volume 26, Number 44, Mr. Ford's page. Public indifference does not exist. There is only transfer of public interest. When the wells of use or inspiration run dry, they are deserted. But that does not mean that the need for water is less nearly felt. The people decline to be interested in what does not meet their need, and their indifference is as significant as their interest. Human experience is a seesaw, now negative, now positive, now rest, now action, now material interest, now ideal interest. In this way, all the elements of life are drawn into the act of living. The pendulum swings, but comes back. Vital interest of the mind remains. It is objects are found and deserted, and found again in turn. The rise of public interest and its decline to indifference offers a problem to those who desire to know by what methods the public mind works. At one time, indeed, in some things, at all times, there is a complaint that the public interest has been engaged by the wrong things, and at other times there is equal complaint that the public has grown indifferent to matters that ought to command its deepest attention. One may study the conditions without any theory at all and simply observe the fact. One may begin with the theory that the public instinct is right, or one may entertain the opposite theory that the public is helpless until a few wise men lead it around. The theory most inclined to hear is that the public instinct may be trusted, and that no temporary turn should ever be interpreted as the final position which the public will occupy. Public interest, we may say, always exists. It is only with reference to certain objects that we may say that public indifference exists. When wells run dry, the public deserts them. The instincts of the people warn them away from exhausted sources. It may seem rather hard on those whose interest it is to keep the public coming to those wells, but private interest is one thing and public benefit another and more important matter. Sometimes the wells from which the public turns away are not dry, but the mechanism which lifts the water has broken down or proved insufficient, or the barriers placed in the way of people wishing to get the water have proved too burdensome to surmount. In this connection, one thinks of religion as an example. There is no generation of our people accessible to us by their contemporary literature that has not lamented the religious indifference of the people. This indifference has had many manifestations. In our own day, it has a manifestation all its own, but it has always had its periods when it existed. These were not the worst times either. It seems that the interest and energy withdrawn from one channel of activity usually finds its way into another channel. Thus, a financial authority states that the United States has never had any total hard times. He says that even in the worst times, some lines of business enjoy prosperity, or some parts of the country are getting along nicely. This stoppage is never total or nearly so. It is true in the economic world as in the natural world. The sun is shining somewhere. Now, the analogy seems to run throughout life. The sun is always shining somewhere. If the people seem for the time indifferent to theology, they're certainly not indifferent to sociology or those things which make for justice among men. The seesaw of human experience is very evident in this. Times of theological interest have not been notable for advances in economic justice. Times of economic interest have not been notable for theological advances. According to temperament, there is a temptation in theological times to decry the economic, and in times of economic interest to decry theology. Because we do not see life as a whole, because we do not know how natural the divine law is, because we do not know that human relations are an inseparable part of religious truth, we simply fall into pessimism on one side or the other. But truth remains, and it is for us to discover it. When certain formulas into which the truth is cast become tried and non-nourishing to life, they desert it like dried-up wells. But such desertion does not mean that thereby the resort to water has ceased, or the need for water has ceased, or the cleansing and thirst-quenching properties of water have changed. One drinks and goes on without work. It is the work that counts after all. The worth of water is in the work it makes possible. Following this apparent rule of life a little further, it must be evident that we are not through with religion or theology. Whatever it has of life-giving quality, or of correction of vision, or stimulus of inspiration, will be needed when the inspiration now in use begins to slacken. The seesaw will still be in operation. We are never through with any great source of enlightenment. Those who represent the religious faculty have work in their interim. They should be making the fountains more accessible, that is, they should be making their special truth more easily interpretable. Men go from refreshment to labor, from labor to refreshment, from contemplation to action, from action to contemplation, from theology to sociology and back again in return. It is the ceaseless swinging of the pendulum of vital human interest. Yet people bemoan themselves when the pendulum leaves their special quarter and talk dolefully about the increase in public indifference. But the force of vital interest always remains the same. It focuses on one matter at one time, on another at another, according to the needs of human nature.